Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. What we have right here is a very strong contender for one of the best fitness watches of 2020, and this is the newest offering from Polar. This is the Polar Vantage V2, which as I mentioned is a premium multi-sport watch, and we're going to get into a lot of the testing in this video. I'll talk about what it was like to actually use this because I've been using it for about 1 to 2 weeks now, but to summarize, it's very light, it's very comfortable, has a pretty decent battery life, and it does a great job of tracking your sports and giving you decent analytics to interpret that and figure out how to be, how to train better and how to be healthier in general. So with that being said, guys, let's first jump into a physical tour here. I want to show you guys what this watch is all about, what it's actually like on the outside, and then we'll get into the interface and the testing as well. But starting off on the outside of this watch, on the sides, we have 5 buttons on here. Now, at first I saw 5 buttons and thought, uh-oh, I really hope that's not a button-only interface. Don't worry, it is a touch screen, but having 5 buttons is actually a really nice advantage because if you're swimming or just doing something extreme, which this watch is meant for, then sometimes the touchscreen is not always the most convenient way to navigate an interface. The 5 buttons are all very textured, so they're really easy to find, and they have a really nice tactile feedback when you press them. So, I mean, the mechanical design of that is great. Now, it is an all aluminum body. It's water resistant, of course, obviously, because this is going to be a multi-sport watch, so wearing it swimming is no problem. Just be careful when it's not meant for diving, so you don't want to go deeper than like 50 meters or so. Looking at the front, we have an always-on color touchscreen display. So breaking down what that means, it's a 1.2-inch display with color, which is great for showing you what you need to see when you're running or literally doing anything. Admittedly, it's not the brightest display, but that's going to be good for battery life, and I generally didn't have too much of an issue with seeing this in most settings. So even though it's not the brightest, you still can see what's going on. The touchscreen aspect of this is great to have for navigating the interface because there is no rotating crown or bezel or anything, so you'll be navigating the interface by swiping, or of course you could use the buttons to navigate as well, the top and bottom on the right side, and I'll show you that in a second. As we look on the left side, you'll see there are 2 holes there. This does not have a speaker or a microphone, but it does have a beeper on board, which is going to be used for notifying you of things or for like an alarm, for example, and it does a decent job. It's not it's not going to have a speaker on here, obviously. It's not geared to be a smartwatch. It's not going to be like an everyday smartwatch. It does have like notifications and stuff like that, but this is really, keep in mind, this is really a sports watch that is meant for working out, and that's the primary focus here. Now, as we flip it over to the back, you'll see a big cluster of sensors. I'm not going to get into what each individual one is, but we do have our charging nodes on the back, as well as the heart rate diodes and just everything else going on there. We'll talk about that later on. If you look at the top and bottom of the watch, you'll see that it doesn't have the standard pin, so you can't just replace this strap with any strap. It's going to have to be the Polar strap, so that's a bit of a drawback. Sometimes I really like getting third-party straps, but for this one, I think it looks really nice as it is, and again, a sports watch, it's not meant to be worn with a suit, so if this is not comfortable for you, you could change the size, or you could find a different Polar strap, but you're not going to be getting third-party straps just like the standard one with the pin. That's a small drawback with this, but other than that, there's not a whole lot to look at physically with this watch. Behind the scene here, it of course doesn't have Wi-Fi, doesn't have NFC, and doesn't have cellular. That's pretty standard for a lot of sports watches. It would be nice if you had the ability to connect earbuds to this and listen to music. It has no onboard music storage. That's a big drawback, and I'll talk about that later on in the video. But a positive is you actually can connect a lot of sensors. So if you have something like a Polar heart rate strap, which is extremely accurate, it's what I've been using as my baseline to compare every other smartwatch to for accuracy, you can connect that to this watch, and if you don't like the heart rate sensor on here, which I will test out later on in the video, but obviously this is going to be more accurate to have a chest strap, you can always just connect those sensors on the watch. It's a really nice thing to do. Okay, so here we are in Polar Flow on my desktop. You can also access this from your phone. It's something that I really like about this watch and Polar in general is that you can see so much information on either your desktop or your phone, and they synchronize almost instantaneously. So here we can see just from the normal diary, we see a lot of just analytics there about our workouts, and we can get into some basic summaries of how much we worked out per day and see some general progress. Now, I'm not going to talk about that too much. I really want to talk about the sleep accuracy, but first it's worth noting that you have a lot of other things going on here. So we can go to like training history, activity, we can go to sleep, and that's what I really want to talk about right now. And sleep accuracy I found was overall very excellent. It's probably the best sleep tracking watch I've seen to date. And what it does here is it does a really good job of knowing exactly when you fall asleep and when you woke up. And it also does an excellent job of detecting the correct interruptions. So I have confirmed that these interruptions were at this time, which means that, that's a really good metric that a lot of other watches definitely miss. Now, the only thing I found that is sometimes a little bit off is in the morning, if you wake up and you roll over and you hit your snooze button and you sleep for another 20 minutes, sometimes that's not reflected right here. So that's just a slight difference, but hopefully you're just waking up in the morning anyway. And then down here, they'll also show you some other things. So day-to-day comparison, I didn't actually wear it on Wednesday, but you'll see continuity, actual sleep, sleep time, like a lot of things compared. And even more so than that, you can go to reports, and reports is extremely powerful for comparing tons of different stuff: your training, your activity, your sleep, your tests, your running index, cardio load. And here you can break it down to just the last month. And you can see I've been wearing this for probably about 8 or 9 days here. And it does a great job of showing you just your general sleep, but you can look even more in detail and say, all right, well, what does my deep sleep look like throughout the days? And you can see I usually have a lot of deep sleep early in the night. This was a really weird night for some reason. And then this was a really good night. So you can look and see, all right, what did I do these different nights and what time is best for my body to sleep in the best way possible. Okay, so getting into the interface, I'll show you what the buttons do in a second, but if we go left and right here, which we can also do from the buttons by hitting the top or bottom button, it goes through each of these different, I want to call them widgets, but they're kind of also just watch faces. So here's going to be the date. It shows us our percent activity of the day, if we're overtraining, undertraining, or right on course, our current heart rate, our last training session. I didn't actually wear this last night to sleep, but it goes through all of these, and this is going to be like a suggested workout for you, and then back to weather and stuff like that. So if you go into any one of these, so if we tap on the red button on the right, it'll go into that one, and it'll show us basically this application is like how much we worked out or how active we've been today. And you can go into like sleep analytics or anything like that. Now, I just pressed the bottom left button to go back. And so again, if we want to go into maybe like this one right here, we can press the middle button, and that'll tell us our cardio load status for the week. And it's based on how much you've worn it. I've only worn this for 2 weeks now, so it's a little bit, it's going to say I'm overreaching, but I'm definitely not. So if we press the left button on the bottom, that'll bring us back to home again. And that's pretty much everything on the main face. If we swipe down from the top, you have a couple options here. So you can set an alarm, you can go to countdown timer, or turn on do not disturb. And of course, you can also see the battery status there. If we swipe up from the bottom, this will be our music controls. This is not actually a music player on board, so this is just controlling music on my phone. And if we swipe up again, it'll tell us the notifications on our phone. Now, if we press this button, it brings us back. And the bottom left button, we can also press it from the home screen, and this goes into another menu. From here, we can swipe up and down, or again, use the buttons on the right. So this one's up, and we can start training. If we press the middle button, that'll go into training. And here, we have a ton of different options for different types of training. We can go into like mountain biking, running, walking, all kinds of stuff. You get the idea on that one. So let's go back. Let's open up this menu again. And if we go down, you have a breathing exercise here. Just if you're stressed and you want some guided breathing, that's an option. We can also go down to Strava live segments. You can go to fueling, which is I'm not going to touch on that right now. We have timers. We have watch face views. We can go down to testing. So testing is a big focus of this watch, where you have things like your leg strength test, your orthostatic test, and your cycling test, like a lot of these different tests to tell you how much you've improved and what you're at right now. And of course, if we go down, the last thing is settings, where you can actually go into adjust things like your watch settings, the units you're using, and you can go and set alarms and stuff like that. So that's definitely a little bit more advanced getting into the settings, but that's pretty much everything you'll want to know about this interface for the watch. I guess the only other thing is the shortcut. If we press and hold the red button on the right, it'll go into a workout. And each of these workouts, I found that the workout screens are really nice. So if we go to running and we just tap on that, it'll start recording it. And from here, you'll see that it shows us on the top our heart rate as well as what heart rate zone we're in. So if we're burning fat or something like that, there you can see it went into the always on display mode. But if we tap on it, it will get bright again. Or if we press a button, it gets bright. And then we can also go into our music controls and stuff like that from the workout. To stop a workout, you have to press the bottom left button and then press and hold that. And that will do that right there, end our recording, and we're going to not save that session.
All right, so starting off with the GPS accuracy, at first glance, it looks like this may not be accurate, but it's actually very accurate. You can see I started right here, and it even shows which side of the road I was on. So I ran on this side, and then running down this way, I actually crossed the road because some lady had a dog right there. And then like even right here, so it showed I was in the middle of the road. That was the only iffy thing. And then this little blip was slightly erroneous as well. But other than that, this was extremely accurate all the way around. As we zoom in, you'll see like right here, it looks like I veered way off because I actually did veer way off because this is a busy road. And if you know this area, there's actually kind of a little like parking lot thing along the side of the road where I was actually running. So, I mean, again, I was very pleased with the accuracy of the GPS here. It did everything almost perfectly with really no errors that I could really see. Now, looking at the heart rate sensors, that was a little bit more interesting. So we have two different things here. The first thing is when I was running on a treadmill. And so right here you can see, as is really typical with a lot of optical heart rate sensors, it started off on track and then it showed it was like a little bit low. Sometimes that happens with optical heart rate sensors until about the maybe 2-minute mark right here. So about 120 seconds, 2 minutes right there. And then it was almost perfect for the entirety of the run, deviating no more than maybe 2 or 3 beats per minute here. But for the most part, it looked really, really good. So if you're just going on a run, it had absolutely no problem, except like I said, it was a little bit low in the very beginning. Now, if we look at when I was on a stationary bike, I actually went through some intervals. So every minute I went like high intensity, low intensity. And as you can see here, in the end, after about maybe 5 or 6 minutes, it was like right on the money and it was really crushing it. But in the beginning, again, it was very low. However, when you're doing intervals, it seemed to be struggling and being lower for slightly longer. So if you're doing short workouts, a workout that is less than, say, 5 minutes, the accuracy of any optical heart rate sensor is going to be questionable. But in the long run, if you're really doing this for, hopefully you're working out for more than 5 or 10 minutes, then I found that the accuracy should definitely be as good as you really want it to be. Now, if you are really looking for the most accurate device possible, a heart rate strap is going to be more accurate. That's what I use. The Polar H10 is the yellow line right here. And as you can see on the other one, it is the purple or the bluish line right here. So you might want to consider getting one of those, which, as I said before, if you're really worried about heart rate accuracy, you can actually connect a heart rate sensor to this watch by Bluetooth. And so that's a great way to improve the accuracy of your heart rate for your workouts.
So now let's get into some of the positives and negatives of this device. I want to start off with the positives. The first thing is aesthetically, I think it looks really nice for a sports watch. Sometimes they're big and clunky. I like how simple and just minimalist this one is. The buttons with the accent on the right side, I think looks really nice. It's also very light and very comfortable, as I mentioned in the beginning. The only downside is that I wish the bezel was a little bit smaller. So if we had a larger and brighter screen, that would be a welcomed change here. And I'll talk about that in a second. But some more positives, it has a pretty great battery, honestly, compared to something like the Apple Watch, which lasts 1 day. Getting about 5 out of this, I think, is a comfortable compromise for me. You know, if you're going on like a 5-day or a 4-day backpacking trip or something, no problem with this. And Polar does claim that you get 40 hours of continuous tracking for fitness. I've never trained for 40 hours straight, so that's definitely more than enough for what I need. It also is very accurate, very convenient, and it effectively communicates some complex things to you. So rather than just showing you graphs, it really breaks things down and allows you to make more informed decisions on how you should be training, how you should be recovering, and pretty much everything in between. I really like the analytics. The app here is really the bread and butter of Polar. The Polar Flow app is really what makes this watch a really worthwhile thing to buy. So what I'm talking about are the features like nightly recharge, which really gives you a quick index for how well you slept and how well you recovered. And of course, you can dive really deep into sleep analytics with this watch. I mean, like I said, it's probably the most accurate and most in-depth sleep tracking watch I've seen to date. On top of that, you have things like Training Load Pro and just all these other things throughout the app and on the watch that, again, just help you make really informed decisions. It also integrates really well with Strava, and on top of that, you can export the data if you want. Very easy to do that. But of course, there are some drawbacks with this watch. It's not perfect, and I think this is really common for a lot of sports watches to kind of fall in this category here. So the first thing is that I really am disappointed that I can't have music stored on here. I really would like to run without my phone at all and still be able to listen to music on this device. It's what we see on a lot of like Garmin watches do that, and lacking that on here is definitely a drawback. On top of that, it doesn't have any kind of NFC payment. Not that I use that a ton, but if I'm gonna wear a premium watch on my wrist, it is nice to be able to have NFC payments. And sometimes, again, if I run without my phone, at the end, I might want to stop and like buy a Gatorade at a local gas station or something. It's sometimes a nice feature to have. Some other drawbacks, like I said, we have the giant bezel on the outside, giving you a smaller screen to body ratio. And I wish that we would either have a larger screen, or what I think an even better thing would be to do would actually be to get a solar panel on the outside, just to give you an extended battery life. It's what we see with a lot of Garmin watches are doing that. And it's something that I would like to see on here. Other than that, it does try to be a little bit of a smartwatch, so you get notifications on here, but I completely disabled that because I found that they were a little bit annoying. It notifies me a little bit unintelligently, so anytime my weather changes on the top of my notification bar, it gives me a new vibration and a new update, so very frequently, it's not something that I found was especially useful. And yeah, I could disable just the weather notification, but I just turned off notifications in general with this watch. So guys, that's my take on the Polar Vantage V2. Is it the best fitness watch to buy? Well, it depends on what you're looking for. If you are really an endurance athlete and you care a lot about running and biking and tracking all of that very accurately and getting a lot of analytics, then this is a fantastic watch to buy. It's going to give you an excellent app, a great interface, great watch faces for when you're training. It's light, it's comfortable, and it's really nice for what it's meant to do. But if you are looking to get into fitness, but at the same time, you're just gonna wear this every day and you want kind of a smartwatch on your wrist, then it might not be the best purchase because, like I said, not having offline Spotify or really any offline music, that's a drawback. No NFC payments, and it doesn't do the best job with notifications. So it's not going to be much of a smartwatch, but it's definitely going to be a great watch for fitness. So personally, I think Polar made an excellent watch here. I think a lot of people are going to be very happy when they buy this. But comment down below and let me know what you think of the Polar Vantage V2. I'll also put some links down below to some other reviews if you want some more in-depth testing on the accuracy. I know some people that really went in and did a lot of bike rides and swims, so I'll put a link down below to their content. If you guys enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.